Welcome to the Predictive Playbook. I'm your host, John Ryan, and I'm pleased it's always Tuesday at 1 o'clock to have David Bearman, ESPN's Deputy Editor of Sports Content, with us. He is coming off an incredible weekend, and I'm glad he is because, I've been saying that this guy is one of the best PGA analysts and bettors that I've ever known, and he even exceeded my expectations this past week. Welcome to the show, David, and I definitely want you to tell us. I think you only lost one matchup play out of 7. So I'll turn it over to you.
I'll start by saying I did not have Hideki, so we'll throw that out there. I was not one of the very few people who had Hideki. But as you and I have discussed on this podcast before, sometimes the money doesn't come from picking a guy to win, but picking top 10s, 20s, and matchups. It was a great week. I had 4 guys in the top 10 in Cameron Smith, Patrick Reed, Connors, and Xander Schauffele. I also had Schauffele in the top 5, so I got him twice. Was able to get a couple of top 20s, and I believe I hit 5 out of the 6 matchups that I had.
Yep.
And the one that I didn't hit was one that was over before the weekend started. It was Matthew Wolff, who wound up getting disqualified anyway. He would have missed the cut, so I would have lost no matter what. But it was a great week, great games. I wish I had a little bit of action on Matsuyama, but hey, if you can't pick the winner, at least I got 4 top 10s, all of which paid 2-1 or more. So it was a really good week, and getting that April Augusta under your hat, and it was a lot of fun, a lot of good golf, and nothing you could do but watch Hideki play awesome.
Yeah, it was, and Hideki was one of the guys that was kind of flying under the radar of the favorites. I don't think there was more than just 1 or 2 that were calling for him to make a run like he did. And, the one takeaway I loved was when it was over. And, granted, Hideki stumbled into the finish, but you know what? I don't care about that. But when the caddy took off his hat and bowed to the course, I got chills just now thinking about it. I got chills watching it. And then, honoring the course and then putting the flag back in the hole there on 18, that I thought that is something I'll never forget.
Yeah,
and obviously,
it was class all the way, and the way he handled everything. And if you think about it, here's a guy who has the weight of an entire nation on his back. It's one thing to be one of 80 Americans in an 88-person field, but you have an international player from a country that loves golf, but has never won a major. And for him to accomplish that, and to not just come from behind on Sunday and shock people, he took the lead on Saturday, held it 54-hole lead, all the pressure of sleeping on the overnight lead. And for the most part, it wasn't really challenged. I know the final score will tell you he won by 1. Whenever you can get to 18 and be okay with getting a 5, you got it won. That's what Hideki did. I mean, Tiger did that 2 years ago. Could get a 5 and win. And John, I'm telling you, if I played the 18th hole at Augusta a million times, I'm not sure I would ever beat a 5. It's just one of those holes where there's no bailout. Then it's uphill. Green is impossible. To be able to go to that hole knowing you can win with a 5, it's got to be a great feeling. He handled everything with class all week. The weather delay on Saturday obviously helped him. He was able to shoot much differently when they came back. And I don't know if anybody saw the tweet that was flown out there yesterday. He was flying commercial back to Japan through Chicago and just sitting at the terminal with the green jacket on the seat. And, we always joke that they're human beings just like we are. They put their pants on one leg at a time. You had the Masters winner sitting in a regular terminal at O'Hare with the green jacket just hanging on over the seat. Great dude. I've heard nothing but good things about him. I was actually there in 2011 when he won when he was low amateur and got the award. I was actually in Butler Cabin helping produce those segments down there, so actually got to see him. And obviously, translation wise, it was difficult, but it was good to see that started there in 2011. And fast forward 10 years, takes home the green jacket. I don't know of anybody that had him winning. He did fly under the radar. You go back and look at the numbers. He's played well here, low amateur, had a lot of good finishes. His metrics showed that he could play Augusta well. He's just not one of those guys you ever see winning a major. So he proved all the doubters wrong. Everybody was all over Spieth and Thomas and Rahm, and even going into Sunday, I'm not sure many people were picking Hideki to hold on. In fact, I read one of the articles that had who's going to win on Sunday, and there were 8 people, and only 3 of them picked the guy who had a 4-shot lead.
Crazy.
I'm not going to lie. I went ahead and took more money on Xander because he was 4.5 to 1. Got within 2 shots before inexplicably putting in the water on 16. I think a good tee shot there, and you could put some pressure on Hideki, but I don't think there's anything better than playing the last 2 holes, and all you really got to do is put it out there, and you're fine.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that was a huge turning point there on 16 because he had ripped off. Schauffele had 4 birdies in a row. If he just simply, that's the easiest possible shot maybe on the whole back 9. You just put it on the right side of the green, hit the slope, and it trickles to the left all the way down to the hole. And, I probably would have shanked it if I would have been playing for that kind of money. So who am I to judge? But I thought...
If you go back and look at Xander Schauffele's career in a nutshell, it's the guy who always finishes second or third. And he was right there for the taking.
He was right there.
You're more worried about the approach on 13 and 15 and the tee shots on 17 and 18. No one is thinking. I mean, they make 16 so you can score on it. That's what they make it. The hole-in-ones and the chip-ins. And that's what they make 16 for. I ran a poll on Wednesday on Twitter. What's your favorite golf hole? And many people wrote in 16 because of the way you can funnel it to the hole. So that was a miss on Xander's part. But at the end of the day, the guy who played 72 holes the best is the guy who wins, and that was Hideki, and is really inarguable there.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I thought it was kind of shocking with Dustin Johnson, not only missing the cut, but he had 4 double bogeys, 3 of which were on par 3s. That's not usually happen with the number 1 player in the world. And then, Bryson, you had to think after Friday he figured it out. Like yardages were off on Thursday. Friday he gets it together, and then he goes 75-75. And that too, I'm still trying to figure out what the heck is going on there. Of course, Rory missed the cut.
I knew we were in trouble with Bryson, and I didn't play him at all because I had told you on the show last week this is just not a good course for Bryson, and he obviously can pound the ball down there further than anybody. But as you saw a couple of weeks ago when he drove over the lake but still wound up with the same birdie Lee Westwood did from 150 yards back, you got to hit the irons in there. And if you're missing iron shots and putts at Augusta, and I go back to I think it was Thursday, 12th hole on Thursday, and he of all the times I've watched the Masters, there on TV, wherever, I've never seen anybody hit the ball so far over the green on 12 that it hits the hill and then rolls back down. And they had him, you could hear the crowd mic. Yeah, the crowd mic was on him when he turned around and said, I missed that by 15 yards. Bryson DeChambeau doesn't miss a shot by 15 yards. So there was obviously something wrong going on there where you're talking about a 140-yard hole that he missed by 15 yards. He got lucky that it rolled back down. He still bogeyed the hole. But that was the point where I said something's not right with his distances. You're right. He figured it out on Friday. I bet against him on Friday and lost. But Saturday and Sunday, it was like taking kid from a candy. It was so easy to bet against him on Saturday and Sunday. It's just not a good course for him. As far as Dustin's concerned, I didn't expect a -20 out of him, but I also didn't expect a missed cut. I only didn't play him because he was the favorite and there wasn't much value there. There was a lot of people who struggled and missed the cut. That Trunk Slammers tweet I sent out on Friday night, a lot of big names on there. I wasn't surprised with Rory. His game's been a mess. Dustin was a surprise. Berger was a surprise. A lot of big names. And considering only 88 are in the field and somewhere around 56, 57 made the cut, there were some names that were you're not going to be surprised when Sandy Lyle misses the cut. But you are going to be surprised when Dustin Johnson does.
That's true. And there was somebody that did make the cut, Alazabal, or Alatzabal. Hopefully I'm respectfully saying his name, but that was a pleasant surprise of making the cut.
And he's won there before, so he knows the course
Yep.
well. It's the reason why Freddie Couples always does well there. And we talked about this last Tuesday where, Augusta National is one of those courses where you heavily weigh course history and how you play this course. And which is why I thought that, and we'll get more into it with the picks for this week, a very underrated story beyond Hideki carrying an entire nation to a win. Willie Zalatoris never played the course before. First time. I don't go anywhere near first timers when I make Masters picks. And to be in the final group on Saturday and the third to final group on Sunday, to make the charge that he made, nothing phases this kid. I came away more impressed with Willie Zalatoris than anybody else in the field, including Hideki, because the kid's 24 years old, never played the Masters before, has really nothing behind him of history to tell you he's going to play good, and he gets, runner-up medalist finishes at the Masters. Just incredible talent that the kid has, and I've played him before in other events, but I'm like, first trip to the Masters, cameras, limelight. Even on Saturday when he was in the final pairing, I'm like, he's going to do terrible. Nothing phases, and some of the shots he hit were just awesome. Really big fan of his moving forward.
Oh, I think so too. He kind of reminds me of a modern-day Gary Player, by stature. He's certainly diminutive in size, and it's kind of refreshing to see a player like that be able to excel even better than the more physical athletes, I guess is what I'm trying to say there. Yeah, I enjoyed him quite a bit.
Everybody has told the story about how he went to Wake Forest on the Arnold Palmer Scholarship and all that, but I think Jim Nantz set it up pretty well on Saturday when he added that the Wake Forest golf coach, who is well known, said he has never seen a talent like Willie Zalatoris. And that, Wake Forest is a pretty good golf school. Arnold Palmer Scholarship. To come out and say he has never seen someone this good is telling.
Yeah, so that's I believe he's playing this week too. So now the tour shifts, and we head southeast from Augusta just a little bit to Hilton Head Island in South Carolina. This is a Pete Dye course, and as anybody who has ever watched this show knows that it's my favorite course to play. I was actually there this past weekend walking around, and I'm telling you, it's just immaculate condition right now. So this course is way different, though. It's short by PGA's Tour standards. The greens are extraordinarily small. They average like 36 or 3,700 square feet. You're not going to see a lot of drivers hit. Probably a lot of irons off the tee, and placement is everything. Again, tee to green, and then because of the small greens, I would think, David, that chipping short game is going to be a major plus for the guy who walks out of here with a win.
Yeah, some of the things I'm looking for, you just hit it on the head. Great iron play, scrambling ability, able to chip, putt, get out of the sand. These are very, very small greens. Anybody who hits a lot of greens, if you're able to hit the small greens, you're good in my book. A lot of the guys you will see that I'm on are all good iron players, all good scrambling, all good on the green and putting. Guys like that do very well here. And you don't look any further than last year's winner in Webb Simpson. Proud to admit that last year in our column, I picked Webb to win this event. I know it was in June and not April. It was the second event back after the Colonial. I had picked Webb the week before the Colonial. He missed the cut. And I remember saying, you know what, I'm gonna throw that out. He triple bogeyed 17 on Friday. That cost him the cut. I'm going to throw it out. I'm going to pick him again. He's a great iron player, great scrambler, and he went out and won at 25-1 odds at RBC. You're not going to get him at 25-1 this week. It's a much weaker field. This course last year benefited from being the second event back, and everybody and their mother wanted to play it. 12-1 this week, but fifth in accuracy off the tee, which is huge here because it's not how far you hit it, it's how accurate you hit it to be able to get that shot into the small green. 23rd on tour in greens and reg, 8th in shots gained around the green, 13th shot gained putting. Won it last year, finished second in 2013. He's made the cut 10 of 11 times. I expect a really good chance at a repeat this week. I'll be playing Webb everywhere, not just to win, but the odds are pretty low at 12-1. I'll be playing him in top 5s, 10s, and 20s, and in matchups. This course is a perfect type of course for Webb. But if you're looking for not one of the favorites, I would give you someone like Tyrell Hatton or Willie Zalatoris, both at 25-1, so a little bit higher. Those numbers are lower than they would have been on a stacked field. Let's take Hatton for starters. I was wrong on him last week. I predicted him to miss the cut. He hasn't played very well in big events, whether it be majors or Sawgrass a few weeks ago. So I figured for whatever reason, when he's up against stacked fields, he's been playing poorly. Made the cut, shot a 68 on Sunday, wasn't in contention, but shot very, very well. This is a weaker field, not a big-time event. He does have 6 top 20s in his last 8 worldwide events. Led one of the co-leaders after 54 holes last year after a 64-63 Friday, Saturday. And he's 10th in shots gains approach and 21st overall. I see big things out of Hatton this week.
That's good. Of course, I already know you're going to talk about Willie Z here.
It just all adds up. It all adds up for him. 16th in greens and reg, 5th in approach, 4th tee to green, which you mentioned, 12th overall. And if you look deep into his results, He's had 11 top 25s, including 6 top 10s, 2 of which came at majors, U.S. Open and the Masters, in his last 14 stroke play events. Just exceptional talent, doing very, very well. And if you're looking for a good ball striker who's also good around the greens, the one negative, he's never played this course before. But that didn't really seem to matter last week at Augusta. So if he can name Augusta without having played it, I will throw out the fact that this is his first appearance at the RBC Heritage at Harbor Town, has all the math, all the numbers point to him getting his first PGA Tour win. And again, if you don't want him to win, you don't think you want to play that lottery ticket, at plus 250 for a top 10. It's just, Anita Marks, one of my colleagues, calls him her human ATM. I'm going to jump on board. Every week this guy gets top 20s and top 10s. He may be a guy that you don't really play to win until he does win on tour. But if you want to play him in top 10s and top 20s, that's all he does every week. 11 top 25s in his last 14 events. Fantastic.
Yeah, I love that play too. I think most of the bettors are going to take the favorites for the top 10 and the top 20 because they think they're getting a better price, a better likelihood that it happens. But then that makes guys like Willie Z cheaper at that level. So I do love that play quite a bit.
And if Willie Z is Anita's human ATM, my human ATM, and I tout him every single week on this show and in the column, is my boy Corey Connors. Every week, top 10, top 10, top 10, 28 to 1 to win, plus 150 for a top 20, about 250 for a top 10. That's what he's been doing. He has 3 top 10s in his last 4 stroke play events and 6 of his last 12 going back to October. 7th off the tee, 10th around the greens, top 15 in almost every metric you would want, tee to green, approach, off the tee, and total. I play him every week. He keeps cashing me tickets. I'm going to get him at 150 for a top 20 and 250 for a top 10. It's like going to the ATM, and I'm a big fan of Corey Connors overall, and I love him this week as well.
And I do too because of that reason. I like him even more. But I think, are there any older veteran guys that have played well here? I know Davis Love has a tremendous history involving his father at this event. Davis Love, for those that don't know, has won this 5 times. And unfortunately, he has some knee issues going on right now. And who knows with Davis? I mean, he always played this course extraordinarily well, and he may play, and who knows, he may make the cut. But of the other veterans that are out there, and now I actually put Sergio as a veteran, or Kucher, or those type of guys. Are there any that strike you as a possible winner?
Kucher would be the one that I would give out. He's going to be in the column tomorrow as my long shot. He's currently at 50 to 1, and if you think about how weak this field is, 50 to 1 is kind of long odds for a guy who's won multiple times on tour. He won here in 2014, made the cut in each of his last 16 appearances here. Runner-up 2 years ago in 2019, 5th in 2015, 6 top 10s. If you worried about how he's been playing, he had been playing awful since last October until the match play, finishing 3rd in the match play, 12th at the Valero Texas Open 2 weeks ago. And yeah, he had a horrible 78 to open Augusta, fired a 70 on Friday, wasn't good enough to make the cut. So he had that extra time off. But I also think him missing the cut is helping us get 50 to 1 on him and 2 to 1 on a top 20. Had he made the cut and had a good weekend, that number would be low. I had Kucher on my short list of people I was going to play this week, wondering how he was going to do at the Masters. I think we got the best of both worlds. He played good enough on Friday to give me confidence this week, but he played bad enough that he missed the cut and his numbers high. So if you're going to look at a veteran with a lot of experience at this course, who has been inconsistent, but at this course he's been phenomenal, it's Matt Kucher. His metrics are terrible, as you might imagine, by someone who had no top 20s between October of last year and the match play 2 weeks ago. That's not going to lend you much confidence. We're talking about a 50 to 1 shot, plus 200 to finish in the top 20, a guy who has played here for 17 consecutive years, of which 16 of them have made the cut. And honestly, that's probably the bet I would make, John, is Kucher to make the cut. It's going to be close to even money, if not minus money, but he's good to make the cut at this event.
And we also have one that I'm going to ride this, him and Willie Z, to be honest with you, Cameron Smith, who I like quite a bit to keep rolling. There's no reason to expect him to not perform well at this event because of that short game and because of the iron play. Do you agree with that one?
I do. I like Cam Smith. I picked him last week to finish in the top 10, and he hit. I play him often in a lot of big events. With the weaker field, I think it's definitely one that he can win and survive. Has played well here recently. Didn't play well here before, but strong iron game, strong across the tee. He had too many missed cuts for me to have him tops on my list. But yeah, I absolutely will play him in DFS and sprinkle probably a top 10 or 20 on him like I do every single week. He's a great player. He had a couple of bad holes at the Masters that cost him a legit shot. But for someone who had a couple of triple bogeys, he still finished in the top 10. That tells you how his overall body of work was.
And we didn't talk too much about this guy, but Harris English was one of my go-to guys for my DraftKings lineups just about every week down at least the last third of the season after they resumed. And do you think this is a venue where like his skill set matches the course and he could have a breakout weekend? I'm not saying he's going to win, but certainly like a top 20 bet.
Harrison English is a guy who matches courses well. He's not a guy who's going to finish good every single week. The longer courses he doesn't do well on, but the shorter courses, Harry English is the type of guy who he'll miss 3 straight cuts and then he'll pop up and finish T3rd somewhere or even win an event. So I do like that play. He's not one of the guys that I have winning, but I think he can be someone you play in your DFS for sure. One name that to me is perplexing. One of the favorites. I kind of went back and forth as to whether I was going to play him or not. So I kind of hedged my bet a little bit. I'm not going to play him to win because I think the 16-1 price is too short for a guy who has been terrible the last couple of stroke play events, but overall has been phenomenal. And that's Patrick Cantlay. I have no idea why he was so bad at the Masters, and he was worse at Sawgrass. So we're talking about the last 2 stroke play events. He's missed the cut and missed the cut poorly. The guy was 11 over par with 5 holes to go on Friday at the Masters. But his metrics are 6th in shots gained total, 7th around the green, 28th in greens and reg. He's played here 3 times, 2017, 18, and 19, T3, T7, T3. So, John, if you had said, I got a guy who's T3, T7, T3, and all his metrics add up, he's a guy I'm automatically going to play. But he's been really bad, and I don't know why. This is a guy who is 72nd in strokes gained total last week at Augusta. Now, there's only 88 in the field.
Right.
And if you throw out Lyle and a couple of longer and a couple of the guys who are, 60 years old, throw those out, you're down to about 78 to 80 players. He finished 72nd. That's pretty bad. Obviously, it being a major, they don't have all the shot link data, so you don't really know how he did specifically other than shots gained total to the field. But you go back to Sawgrass, and he was in the mid-50s in shots gained total. So something was wrong the last 2 stroke play events. He did play decent at the match play, losing in a playoff to advance to the round of 16. So I'm going to play him top 10 because that's what he's done here. All 3 times he's played here, he's finished in the top 10. This could be a swing and miss because his game is in a state that I don't understand, or he could win the whole damn thing. And if he wins the whole thing, you're getting paid on your top 10. Sure, you're not getting 16-1, but I'm not willing to put Cantlay in the DJ and Webb category, which is where his odds are to win this thing, is the 3rd best in the field behind DJ and Webb. I'd rather take the chance on them if I'm going to play a favorite and back up Cantlay to a top 10. Maybe he figures it out, and by no means am I going to be surprised if Patrick Cantlay walks away Sunday with the trophy. I mean, he's played it well. His metrics are good. He was awesome on tour until 3 weeks ago. Something jumped out of the water at Sawgrass and bit him because he had the same spins. Maybe you figured it out when you went there last week. But if Patrick Cantlay can put the alligators away and go out there and play, he's just as good as anybody. I'm just not willing to do it at 16-1. If he was 25-1, sure. 16-1, I'm like, show me you can hit the ball straight, because what he did at Augusta last week was awful.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to admit that I'm the cause. I played him at the Players. I played him at the Masters. So I'm accountable. I am not going to bet him this week for the benefit of everybody that's listening. And I obviously want David to win too. But seriously, sometimes you get high on a guy, and that's why I do anywhere from 5 to 7 DraftKings lineups, so that you spread the risk out. You optimize the lineups as a package of 7, and not just going for one. So, I did have one DraftKings this past week, and the only guy that doesn't make the cut is the guy that I thought was going to win the tournament. But that almost cashed. I had 2 of the 7 that got all 6 through. The problem was that they were all between 10 and 20, which isn't bad. I'm not complaining. I was pretty pleased with the results. It would have been a heck of a lot better if I would have essentially picked anybody else on my list other than Cantley. But that's how it goes. That's why it's fun.
And I got fortunate that I didn't play Cantley, and I did have one DraftKings lineup. Played most of the guys we talked about earlier that I finished in the top 10. And I had all 6 guys make the cut. All 6 guys finished in the top 20, and did significantly well this week in DraftKings. So proud of that.
Yeah, absolutely. For what it's worth, that I run some applications that are advanced analytics and some machine learning, and I don't say that to. I hate that word actually when I say it on the air because I'm not trying to impress anybody, but most of the people that say it are trying to do that. But a lot of machine learning stuff has been around since the 1950s, and I use some of that to come up with an initial projection of the players that may have a chance. And all the ones we talked about today are on that list. So Sergio, we briefly talked about, great ball striker. And, if he hits greens, David, he's going to have short putts, so we may not have to worry about his putting. One guy we didn't talk about, though, was Lucas Glover, and then he's kind of like on the cusp on the predictive analytics. It's one that I'm probably going to include him on at least one DraftKings. At 7,100, he's going to give me balance to be able to get higher probability golfers to make the cut. But he's a guy that I'm looking at simply to make the cut. If there was a line to bet him to make the cut, I probably would bet that, but there won't be. Do you know anything about his current game coming into this? And if not, that's fine.
I haven't seen enough of Lucas to be able to comment on it. I could go look it up afterwards, but he's a guy who probably is hit or miss to make that cut. And if you're looking for somebody cheap to fill in your squad, he might be somebody good to pick. He's not someone I'm going to bet on, but he is someone that you can fill in your squad.
Yeah, so in the top 10, we mentioned Kucher. He is actually 1, 2, 3, 4. He's 8th. Zalatoris is 5th. Webb Simpson is 9th. And that's without you knowing.
I had no idea until you mentioned it.
He had no idea, so that's why I brought it up, because as we were going, I was looking at my list here, and I was like, wow, I feel pretty good about the list right now.
Good.
So, David, thank you very much for being on the show again today. Any final thoughts about what's going on over ESPN? I think you have something going on that's pretty big coming up later in the week, but I'll give you the stage to you.
Well, tomorrow night we have our NBA BetCast debut. We're going to have a second, basically on ESPN2 during the Nets Sixers game, which is on regular ESPN at 7:15. Flip it over to ESPN2 and watch our Daily Wager special. We'll be producing a show out of Vegas that is a daily wager for all 2 hours of the game, talking about betting. We like to call it a BetCast. We can't formally use that name for legal reasons, but it is a daily wager special that will be pretty much tip to final buzzer, all betting conversations, game props, futures, matchups, etc. Doug Kazarian and crew out in Vegas will be hosting, and we'll be producing it back here in Connecticut. It's something that we've worked hard to get. We did an NFL one during the wild card game back in January that was successful. We're going to do this one, and hopefully we'll do more in the playoffs. And as mentioned on this show, hopefully we'll have a PGA one at some point because we love our golf. So that'll be tomorrow night. We'll also have our NBA Best Bets along with our golf Best Bets out in the morning. So you'll see that around 8:30 tomorrow morning on ESPN Chalk.
Yeah, that's awesome. And for the listeners, make sure 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, the Daily Wager. David was the creator and producer of that in the beginning. It's a tremendous show. I try to watch it as often as possible because it gives a final view and best bets. In fact, both of them have hit 10 or 11 consecutive bets over the show in the last 3 months. And that's incredible. Take my word for it. Nobody just goes out and wins 10 in a row that doesn't know what the heck they're doing.
And the show won't be on tonight or tomorrow because of the BetCast. We're rehearsing tonight. But back on Thursday, you'll have 6 p.m. on ESPN2. But the BetCast will be in the ESPN2 window that Daily Wager normally is tomorrow night.
Okay. And I'll be the first to say the Sixers are going to win.
I
just saying.
I'd be laying that number while I'm sitting there watching the betcast to talk about it.
Well, David, thanks again for being on the show. We look forward to next Tuesday with David at 1 o'clock to talk more PGA golf. So for David, myself, and the Predictive Playbook, may all the wins be yours.